Moving to a new country is not easy, and that's why it really helps to talk about those challenges that we may face before we actually move abroad. In this video, I'm going to share the 3 main barriers that people are facing as they're preparing to move abroad, and these are also some of the challenges that we ourselves are facing. Hi, welcome back to another Tokende travel video. If you're new here, welcome. If you have been here for a while, I want to thank you for watching another video. I want to remind you to make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss any of our other videos. So like I said, in this video, I want to talk about the 3 main barriers that you might be facing as you are contemplating your move abroad. These are based on my own personal experience, but it's also the sentiment that I hear from other people who are interested in moving abroad, but they're a little unsure about the whole process. The first barrier is all about the mindset, and it really comes down to fear. There are 3 different types of fear that I want to cover in this video. The first one is fear of the unknown or fear of change. This is a natural process for all of us because when you're moving to a new place, you don't really know what is waiting for you on the other side. You kind of prepare a little bit, of course, but you cannot prepare for everything. And just the fact that you cannot know everything, that you cannot control everything, just increases your fear. So you're asking questions like, will they have this kind of food? Will they have this kind of support? Will they have this kind of healthcare system? Will I be able to adjust there? Will my kids and my family be able to adjust in that new destination? These are legitimate questions, and the more you can prepare, the more you can do your research, the more you can alleviate some of the stress that these questions can give you. Another fear that you may have is believing that you can actually move abroad. So maybe you're thinking to yourself that maybe this is a pipe dream, that you're crazy for thinking that you, out of all people, can actually move abroad. Like, look at your background, look at where you grew up, look at the people around you, and moving abroad doesn't fit in the picture. When you think about the logistics required, when you think about the money required, you're really asking yourself, well, am I just crazy for thinking that? Or am I really able to do something like that? Am I really able to move abroad? Do I have all the tools necessary to move abroad? One thing you have to know is that not all fears are legitimate, meaning that sometimes our brain will tell us that we cannot do something. So we think that we can do that thing, but there's no evidence that we cannot do it. There's no evidence in our life, in our past, or in our present that shows that we cannot do that thing. One thing that I've learned to do as I work on my mindset, whether it's for our move abroad or even for my business, is to really think about those thoughts that I have and journal about it. So really write down what my thoughts are and to rationalize things as much as possible, being as objective as possible, and really see that there are things that really don't make sense in those thoughts. There are things that are just not rational. Like if I were to say, well, just because nobody in my entourage has moved abroad, well, that doesn't mean technically that I cannot move abroad, or same for you. Just because you're the first person, let's say, to go to college doesn't mean that you cannot go. Just because you're the first one in your family to actually want to go to college, or who has an admission to college, or is pursuing to go to college, that doesn't mean that you cannot technically do it just because nobody in your family has done it. See? Same thing with moving abroad. Being the first doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It just means that you're going to be the first, and that's it. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that you cannot do it. It just means that you'll be the first one to do it. Very similar to that is another fear, which is thinking that you do not deserve it. You don't deserve to move abroad. You don't deserve to have a better life. You don't deserve to have more money. You don't deserve to have more happiness. Whatever that more is for you, you deep down feel like you don't deserve it. And I'm here to tell you that this is a false belief. You don't have to think that you don't deserve something. Says who? Why wouldn't you deserve something better for yourself or your family? Like, yeah, tell me, I'm waiting. Why? Why not? Like seriously, why? Why wouldn't you? If you have a legit reason why you wouldn't deserve it, please let me know in the comments, because there's absolutely no reason in the world why you don't deserve to be happy, why you don't deserve a better life. And if moving abroad is going to bring you more happiness or allow you to have a better life, then why not? Maybe deep down you're telling yourself, well, who am I to move abroad? I'm not rich. Or who am I to move abroad? I don't work for the State Department, or whatever it is, right? Whatever your thoughts are, you're probably telling yourself, well, who am I to do such thing? Or maybe you're telling yourself that you owe it to your family to stay close. This is something very common that I hear a lot. Maybe you have aging parents, or maybe you have a big extended family, and you live very close to each other, and you feel really guilty about the idea of quote unquote breaking the family ties because you would remove yourself from the physical environment, from the physical circle with you and your family. Maybe your family has lived in a certain area for generations and generations, and now you are even thinking about moving abroad, and you feel a lot of guilt about the idea of taking your kids away from the family, away from their grandparents, and so on and so forth. One thing I can tell you about that is that a lot of times we feel a sense of guilt for things that really are not problematic at all. Like maybe you're thinking that your family is going to be unhappy about, the idea of you moving abroad. And so you're already feeling guilty. You don't know for sure if they're going to be unhappy, if they're going to be uncomfortable with this whole idea or against the whole idea, but you feel guilty and you don't want to make any kind of progress in even thinking or planning your move abroad. Well, again, you have to rationalize things and try to be as objective as possible and, talk to your family members, like share that idea of, hey, I'm thinking about moving to, this place and that place. What do you guys think? Maybe they'll be like, oh, wow, this is a great idea. You should definitely do it. Or maybe they'll be a little nervous. Maybe they'll be discouraging you to do it. We don't know yet. That's the point. The point is that you don't know what's in their hearts, what's in their minds. You don't have to feel guilty right now because you haven't even raised that question with them. Or maybe you're thinking that you have your career and you haven't really reached the peak of your career. And if you move abroad, you're kind of going backward, or maybe you're losing on something. You're missing out on something, on great accomplishments in your career. Well, one thing I can tell you is that moving abroad could be not only a lateral move, but it can also be an upward move for you, depending on where you're moving, depending on if you're moving with a job or if you are moving, with your own business. And maybe you will gain more experience this way than if you were still in your corporate job. So it really depends on the career move you plan to make when you move abroad. So at the end of the day, I want to remind you that when you talk about fear, these are thoughts and feelings that are not always based on truth. So it's really, really important to be able to distinguish what is real and what is not real. And when you know what is real, you can make adjustments, you can make changes, and you can work on that. But you don't have to carry the baggage of the things that are not actually real and they're just irrational fears. And remember that any change requires courage. Any great thing that you have to do in your life will require courage, whether it's to go to college, whether it's to birth a child, getting married, getting a divorce, moving abroad. Anything big will require courage. So you have to be courageous to move abroad. You will have fears, like we all have fears, and that's just part of being human. But you don't have to let those fears stop you from reaching the goals that you have for you and your family. Talking about family, the second challenge, second barrier that I see out there is family. It's either because you have young kids or they are school age kids and you feel like they're going to be missing out on their school experience here in the US if they move abroad or if you take them abroad to a new education system. Well, let me tell you something. As a parent, I understand where you're coming from. My kids are still young, so I don't feel like they are really going to be missing out on anything special because they're not at the age where they're going to prom yet or learning how to drive. They're still little, right? But if you have teenagers who are really looking forward to that experience, I want to encourage you to look at things through the other lens. I want you to look at the things that they're going to gain by moving abroad. What kind of exposure are you going to give them? They will be exposed to a different culture. Maybe it's going to be a different language or multiple languages. Maybe they will be part of a bigger community. Maybe they'll be able to spend more time outdoors. Maybe they'll be able to go to the beach more. Whatever it is, you have to look at what they are gaining more than what they are losing or missing out. And once you balance both, you want to see if the things that they're gain is higher than the thing that they are missing out on. Another part of the family is the family influence. So that could be extended family, like maybe your parents, your brothers and sisters, your cousins, grandparents, extended family that might have an opinion on your move abroad. First things first, not everybody needs to have a say in your decision. That's just my personal opinion. You do whatever works best for you, but I don't believe that outside of your direct family, like you, your spouse, your kids, nobody else on the outside needs to have a say in the decisions that we're making in our house. They can have their own opinions, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but that doesn't mean that their opinions is going to influence my decision. In one hand, you might have family members who are trying to protect you out of love because they care for you, because they don't want you to get into trouble, they don't want you to get hurt, or just because they are more scared than you, right? So out of love, they will try to protect you and keep you here. But also you have to watch out for family members or even friends who might just be jealous of you and the courage that you have to actually think of moving abroad, right? Some people will tell you not to go because they really care for you, because they're scared for you. But other people will tell you not to go because they wish they could go, right? They don't want you to experience all the benefits of moving abroad. They would rather you stay close to them so that none of y'all can benefit from moving abroad. So you have to be able to differentiate the people who are really caring for you and the people who don't really have your best interest in mind. Either way, you have to keep in mind that not everybody needs to know or deserves to know about your decisions to move abroad, or even about the progress that you're making as you're planning your move abroad. Last but certainly not least, the third barrier that I see out there is all about the money. This is probably the number one reason why people are scared to move abroad. It's because they don't know if they're going to be able to sustain their lifestyle once they move abroad, and they don't want to have to come back home because they were not able to sustain that lifestyle. So there are a lot of options here for you in order to sustain your lifestyle while you live abroad. And I talked about that in a different video, and I'm going to share it right here as well as in the description. But just to summarize a little bit, there are different ways you can sustain your lifestyle. Like I said, the first and easy way is to have your current job transfer you to a different branch abroad. So for example, if you work for a big oil and gas company in, let's say, Dallas, Texas, then they might have a branch in, let's say, Paris, France. So you might request to be transferred to the branch in Paris. If they have a similar position there, that could be a lateral move or even an upward move for you, or even if it's a little bit of a regression in your career. But if everything else, again, like I said, if the gains are better than the things that you're missing out, then it might still be worth it for you. So that's option one. Option two is to get a new job. So that would mean that you can apply for a job, and I would highly recommend working with a multinational. That way you can have a salary that is comparable to the one that you currently have here in the West, and you don't have to move abroad and trying to find a job locally, because first of all, chances are you are taking a job from somebody local who could actually do the job. And number two, the salary that you will get will probably be a lot lower than what you would get here. If you're going to look for a new job, I recommend that you look for a remote job that would allow you to work from anywhere in the world. That way you can just work remotely from wherever your destination is. That way you can move with peace of mind, knowing that you actually have a job to sustain your lifestyle there. So the job options are good, but I personally feel that they're a little limiting, because if you were to lose that job, then that means that you would need to come back home, right? Because you don't have that job to sustain your lifestyle. So the third option that I would recommend, and that's the one that I'm relying on, is to have your own online business. This would have to be a business that you can run from anywhere in the world, granted that you have the necessary tools like a VPN, for example. And my advice is to always do a scouting trip before you actually make the move to your destination, because you want to be able to test the internet speed, you want to be able to test power outages as well, if there are many of those, for example, and if this is going to be a problem for you as you run your business online. So you want to be aware of these things on the ground before you actually make your move. When we visited Abidjan recently, I made a point to not only test the internet speed at the house, but to also go to a co-working space, because that could be another option for a place to work from. If I were not to work from home, then I could go to a co-working space or a coffee shop or something like that. And I was able to test the internet speed, and I was able to access all the websites I needed for my business to run smoothly while I was there in Abidjan. This is the option that I recommend because it's the one that I'm going for. And I also know that it's not something that is very easy to do. I'm going to host a free masterclass where I'm going to teach you everything that I did to start my own online business, and how you can too. You can have a profitable business before you make your move abroad. You'll learn about all the systems and processes that you need to put in place as a backup plan, because you just never know if you have power outages, or if you don't have internet on this day, or because your kid gets sick, or whatever happens. You want to be able to have your business run for you, even if you're not able to attend to it like right now. And because of that, we'll talk about both how to make active income and passive income with your online business. If you want to know more about how you can join this free masterclass, I'm going to put the link up here as well as in the description of this video. That way you can sign up. It's totally free and you can watch it at your convenience. So this is it for today's video. We talked about the 3 main challenges that I see out there when it comes to moving abroad, starting with mindset and fears. Then we talked about family and friends. And last but certainly not least, we talked about the finances. Again, if you want to know more about how you can start your own online business before you make your move abroad, I invite you to join the free masterclass in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss any of my other videos. And in the meantime, make sure you watch this next video where I tell you more about the next steps you need to take in order to plan your move abroad. Until next time, bye.